this time. Anything for the record, Mr. Souter?
Judge, no, not at this time.
Ms. Dye?
Your Honor, I do have one item. I was informed when I came back today that there's a possibility that one of the body cams that was provided to me late last week for the first time may be moved to admit as an exhibit today. It was my understanding when it was provided, because that's what I was told, that it was not going to be admitted as an exhibit. Had I known that, I might have filed a motion. In fact, I would have filed a motion. One of the reasons is because it is a body cam for Officer Collier, who no longer works for SPD and is not being called as a witness in this case. And so there's foundational issues. It deprives me of my ability to file a motion to exclude the matter on the foundational issue. And there are several prejudicial statements made about my client's history with respect to potential domestic violence that is irrelevant to this case. And so the prejudicial versus probative value is another thing that I should have been entitled to explore. And so I would ask that the court exclude that at this point.
All right, Mr. Souter?
And Judge, it's true. I think we gave a copy of that body cam in question to Ms. Dye, I think last week or the end of the week before. I can't quite remember. My understanding was that it was never ordered the first time around by Detective Inman. And the day that we received it, Detective Inman brought a physical copy to Ms. Dye's office. It is true, I said at the beginning that I wasn't likely going to look to admit it, but I'm still on the fence about admitting it. I might want to try to admit it. And Judge, it's true, Officer Collier is no longer working with Saginaw Police Department, but Officer Beatty was present on that evening with Officer Collier, and what the video depicts is an interview of the victim, Lynette Lumsden, with those officers. Judge, I think it would satisfy any hearsay exceptions as being generally questions that are asked, and questions in and of themselves are not hearsay. But also I think it would be the definition of present sense impression, given that it was a real-time recording of interactions between Collier and the victim, Lynette Lumsden. So I think it would be satisfied for any issue on that, any potential hearsay issue at least.
Ms. Dye, let me understand what is the thrust of your objection. He's mentioned hearsay exceptions, but I believe your objection goes beyond that.
It does, Your Honor. I believe that the probative value versus the prejudicial value, it's not in my client's favor, obviously. I believe that it's far more prejudicial than it is probative, in the sense that there are several comments made throughout the video, which makes it hard to parse. So we'd end up having to play the whole thing. And several comments about my client's history with respect to domestic violence are made, and that is irrelevant to this case. On top of that, I don't have the ability at this point, at this late date, to go through and even attempt to parse out the video to make it more acceptable. And I might have done that as well. And so given the fact that I was informed that it was not going to be an exhibit and there would be no attempt to admit it, I feel that it is at this point unfair to my client, and that he has a due process issue with respect to admitting this evidence.
All right, and Mr. Souter, the purpose of you wanting to admit the video is what?
Just consistent statements with the victim, Judge. I mean, that's pretty much it. I think to lay the groundwork that the night of the incident, she calls police and describes who shot at her. And that's pretty much my intention of admitting that piece of evidence.
And how long does the video last?
It's not very long, Judge. If the court would like, I didn't earmark the video at this point because I wasn't planning on playing the whole thing. But I can, if I have tonight to have the ability, I can earmark. And some of the issues that Ms. Dye has brought up about talking about prior history, things of that nature with the defendant, I think if I can preserve or call Officer Raymond Beatty tomorrow morning, that might solve some of those issues, and I can move around and not make sure that those portions aren't played. But it's only, I think, a 5 to 10 minute video overall. There's 2 videos actually. And I think realistically, they're only about 10 minutes together. It's a pretty short video.
Well, the reason I asked how long they were is because Ms. Dye has indicated she hasn't had a chance to even go through to decide the gist of her full objections. I guess I would have you not make mention of the video at all today, and then allow you to go through it, allow Ms. Dye to go through it and actually rule based upon her objections after that. I don't know what's in it, and maybe she does or doesn't know what's in it, but I don't think I'm going to allow you to bring it in now since you told her you weren't going to use it and now you intend to use it for some purposes.
Fair
So
enough.
I can't make a full ruling until I hear exactly what the full purpose of you admitting and her full objections are. So at this point, I guess I'll sustain her objection at this point until you go through it and tell us what's in it.
Okay. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. We can bring the jury in. While we're waiting on the jury, so Mr. Souter, you will go through the video tonight, parse out what you want to play. And if there's somehow you can let Ms. Dye know that this evening after you do so she'll have a chance to prepare a response for tomorrow.
Yes, Judge, I can do that.
And we could take that matter up before we even bring the jury in tomorrow.
Thank you, Judge.
Please be seated. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes we start on time and sometimes we don't. All right. Mr. Souter, you may begin with your opening statement. And Mr. Souter, if you want to move that table to use for voir dire over, you can do that as well to address the jury.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Again, my name is Drew Sauter, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney for Saginaw County. This case took place a decent amount of time ago, and I want to bring your attention back to the early morning hours of August 2nd of 2019. On that date, here in the city of Saginaw, at 802 South Mason Street, 48602, a Lynette Lunzum was living at that address at the time. Also at that time, Ms. Lunzum had an on and off again relationship with the individual by the name of Dante Harrison. If you've been paying attention to the jury instructions so far here today, you would have learned or had them read to you that Ms. Lunzum and Mr. Harrison are victims in this case. They're both victims of assault with intent to murder committed by the defendant, Omar Morrow. On that date and time, at roughly 12:20, 12:25 or so in the morning, Lynette and Dante got back to Lynette's house, and she had to go inside and use the restroom and grab a drink of water. At that time, Dante was a driver of his 2005 silver gray Buick LeSabre, and that was the car that Dante was operating, and ultimately Lynette was the front seat passenger in. When Lynette came out of the house after doing what she needed to do, Lynette and Dante had some words with one another. They were arguing about something. But nonetheless, Lynette proceeded to get into the front driver's side, or excuse me, front passenger side of the vehicle, that 2005 Buick LeSabre. And at that point, they were pulled into her driveway. See, the front of her house is on South Mason Street, 802 South Mason Street. That's where the front porch is. The intersection, she lives on an intersection. The crossway is William Street. And her driveway would have been on William Street, or is on William Street. And that vehicle was pulled headfirst into the driveway. When she gets into the vehicle, they had made the determination that they were going to go get last call or go get a drink from a local bar. And again, this was a Friday night going into a Saturday morning, and they turned up the music, wanted to listen to some tunes before they got to the bar. Dante started to reverse the vehicle out of the driveway, and eventually started to pull it forward towards that intersection and a stop sign there. At this time, Dante will testify that he didn't know shots were being fired at their vehicle from the beginning. You'll hear from Lynette that she stated she thought she heard gunshots, but didn't know that they were being directed at the vehicle they were both riding in. Eventually, Lynette tells Dante that she thinks she hears gunshots and that someone is shooting at them. Lynette looks around and does see an individual wearing all black at that point in time. But at the beginning, when the shots are being fired, she cannot identify who that individual is. While the shots are proceeding, Dante is trying to be able to drive away from the situation safely and is paying attention more to the road and the vehicle than he is to the shooter. At some point in time, that front driver's window was blown out by a bullet. At that time, Dante was ducking and trying to keep himself safe, and he had told Lynette, hey, look who's shooting. Even prior to that front driver's side window being blown out by a bullet, the car had no tint. There's no tinted windows on the vehicle, and they were completely see-through. At this point in time, Lynette had noticed the dark silhouette of an individual, and that dark silhouette proceeded to walk in front or underneath a street light that is right there on the intersection of South Mason and William Street. At that time, she locked eyes with the shooter, and she knew immediately it was the defendant, Omar Morrow. She could see the defendant holding up his hand, firing, but was more paying attention to locking eyes and looking at his face at that time. She can't tell you what type of gun he had or what he was shooting, but she could just see the muzzle flash out of her peripheral vision, but nonetheless still locked eyes with Omar Morrow. At that point in time, again, August 2nd, 2019, Lynette had known Omar for about 18 years of her life. She had known him for a very long period of time. And when she looked out that busted window that was just shot out, she proclaimed, Omar, it's Omar, it's Omar. At this time, Dante was still trying to drive away and never actually saw who was the shooter at that time. The defendant crosses the street and runs or walks down William Street as Dante turns right onto the one-way, which is South Mason. At that point in time, and you'll see Lynette when she comes in and testify, she wears glasses. But she was wearing glasses on that evening or those early morning hours as well. As Dante continues to drive away from the scene, fearing for his life and his well-being, they proceed to go to North Webster Street here in the city of Saginaw. At that time, Dante was dropped off and had stayed with a friend for the next hour, hour and a half on North Webster Street. And you'll hear testimony that originally when Lynette was interviewed, she claimed that she was the only victim of the shooting. She claimed that she was the driver of the vehicle and that she was the only one in the vehicle. The reason for that is at that time, Dante Harrison and Lynette Lunsum had a no contact order, a court-ordered no contact order between them. And you'll hear testimony that both Lynette and Dante did not want to get in trouble for being shot at because they happened to be in the same proximity as one another when they knew they weren't supposed to be. So again, it's true, Ms. Lumsden did originally state that it was just her in the vehicle. But nonetheless, after she drops off Dante Harrison on North Webster, she calls 911. She calls 911 and again identifies the defendant, Omar Maru, who lives somewhere on South Michigan, potentially near the Econo King gas station or convenience store, and that she's known him from quite some time. She also described him as an individual that was wearing a black hoodie, a white wife beater, black pants, and black shoes. The reason why she knew he was wearing a white wife beater was because she could see that the wife beater was protruding from the bottom of that black sweater. Eventually, the police arrive and interview Miss Lumsden at the Rite Aid on Gratiot Street. At that point in time, Miss Lumsden was too afraid to return to her home, given what had just transpired there about 20 minutes earlier. Now, Miss Lumsden calls 911 at 12:42, and sometime within 10, 15, or 20 minutes of that call, she's being interviewed by the police. It's clear at that time that her vehicle and herself and ultimately Dante Harrison were the victim of an assault. There was bullet holes that lined from the back license plate and exhaust through the back rear driver's panel, the busted out window, and ultimately they found a bullet hole in the radio front dash of this Buick. That bullet came within inches of the driver, Dante Harrison, as you will see. By the grace of God and by sheer luck, no one in that vehicle was hit. Now, when the shots rang out, it was about 12:25 in the morning. There's 3 separate individuals at that time who called 911 at roughly 12:25 in the morning. The first individual stated that it was about 5 rapid shots at this time. The next caller stated it was about 8 gunshots. The third caller said approximately 10. Now, the fourth caller, Tanya Lanzo, lived on William Street, and she called to report that same shooting at 12:26 in the morning. Tanya described the shooter as a black male wearing all black and was walking on William Street towards Bates. The caller did not know if the shooter had a handgun or a long gun, but said it was rapid fire. The caller described the suspect as kind of tall, but didn't know, and said it looked like he was bald-headed, but couldn't really tell. The caller described the subject as a medium-built individual, but denied seeing anything specific, and she could not really see him other than those descriptors that she already gave. Again, that brings us forward in time to when Miss Lynette Lunsden called 911 at 12:42. When Officer Collier with the Saginaw Police Department and Officer Raymond Beatty arrived at that Gratiot Street store, that Rite Aid, they could clearly tell assault took place and that vehicle was shot up. Again, Lynette at that time only said it was her in the vehicle. Fast forward to August 15th of 2019. Detective Trooper Danny Lindman here behind me was assigned follow-up detective on the case. Even though the officers that originally responded to the call were Saginaw Police Department officers, Detective Inman, being part of the Major Crimes Unit with the Michigan State Police, was assigned follow-up. On that day, he contacted Lynette Lunsden, went to her residence at 802 South Mason, and interviewed her. At that time, Miss Lumsden's vehicle was in the shop. She had to get it repaired. The driver's side window had to be repaired, and so did the exhaust, because that was the vehicle that she needed to use to get to work. At that point in time, again, Lynette stated that she was the only individual and sole occupant and driver of that vehicle. Nonetheless, her story stayed the same. The defendant, Omar Morrow, was the one that shot rapid fire about 6 shots at her vehicle. And again, she described to the detective that she could see him, his face, they locked eyes, he was underneath the street light, and within 20 or so yards of him that she could clearly see who it was. Again, at that point, Lynette had known the defendant for approximately 18 years. From there, Detective Inman was able to interview the defendant, Omar Morrow, on August 20th of this year. Given some statements that Omar gave during his interview, Detective Inman ultimately contacted a 4th individual whose name will come up in this case, an Alexis Rios. Alexis Rios was an on-off-again girlfriend with the defendant, Omar Morrow, at that time. A couple days later, on August 23rd of 2019, Detective Inman went to go interview Alexis Rios. And at that point in time was when Detective Inman actually found out that Dante Harrison could have been a victim in this case. After that point in time, Dante Harrison was contacted by the detective, and it was set up for an additional interview. Dante Harris at that point stated during his interview that he was in the vehicle on the early morning hours of August 2nd, 2019, and was driving that vehicle. Now again, Dante cannot say for sure who the shooter was because he could not see him. However, he'll state that Lynette at the time, when Dante had told her to see who was shooting, she screamed out multiple times, "It's Omar, it's Omar, it's Omar," as he was pulling away so quickly that he hit the curb on South Mason because of how scared they were for their well-being. Now, Dante also stated at that point that there was some beef between the defendant and Dante Harrison. See, the defendant would get very possessive and controlling and upset when people would talk to the defendant's on and off again girlfriend, Alexis Rios. He said, Dante stated that about 6 days prior to the shooting, the defendant had sent some threatening text messages to Dante concerning Alexis Rios. It's true, Dante had texted and called and spoken and Facebooked with Alexis Rios over the course of time, even before the 6 days prior to the shooting. They knew each other. That upset the defendant. You'll hear even Lynette come in and testify that she knew that the defendant would be upset if someone else or some other male was talking to Alexis Rios. Now, after Dante Harrison's interview on September 3rd of 2019, Detective Inman recontacted Lynette Lunsdom and said, hey, look, why didn't you tell us that Dante Harrison was in that vehicle on that evening? She gave the same statement that Dante did. We had a no contact order. And both individuals in that scenario, as she was told, could potentially get in trouble if they violated that no contact order. Other than that, her story stayed consistent. She told again the detective on September 4th of 2019, it was Omar, it was Omar, it was Omar. We locked eyes. I've known him for approximately 18 years, and I would not mistake Omar for anyone else. Now, as I stated before in the voir dire section of this case, Detective Inman didn't become involved in the case until 2 weeks after the shooting. There was no gun that was recovered. There was no video from the time of the assault or that captured the assault. But what Detective Inman did his best to do was to investigate this case completely. During his interview with Omar, Omar mentioned that he went to Oconto King, specifically between 12:30 a.m. and 2 a.m. on August 2nd, 2019. He reaffirmed and told the detective many times, yeah, I was there with Alexis Rios. And it's true, Omar was at the Oconto King, but not till roughly 1:16 in the morning, roughly 50 minutes after the shooting. As you'll see through the course of this case, 802 South Mason Street is only about a half mile or so from where the defendant lived at 1015 South Michigan. The Oconto King is also located on South Michigan Avenue and is only about 0.4, 0.5 miles from the defendant's house. So while it's true that Omar and ultimately Alexis Rios were present at that Oconto King, it was roughly 50 minutes after those first multiple phone calls to 911 that reported that shooting. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, those are primarily the facts that you'll hear or the evidence that I present in this case. What you'll also eventually hear, and as Judge Jackson has already informed you, are that we have to meet these elements for every charge. And I'm not going to go into all these elements at this point in time, but I do want to highlight some things that are specifically important in this case. Again, as we talked about before, actual injury is not needed to prove an assault was committed. Additionally, the assault was committed with a deadly and dangerous weapon. You'll see photographs and evidence that the entire driver's side of the vehicle was shot up. It's coming from the back end, but around the license plate, all the way up to the front window, front driver's side window, and that front dashboard. This wasn't just one shot. This wasn't just two shots. Ultimately, the police located 11 spent .45 caliber shell casings from near or on that intersection of William Street and South Mason here in the city of Saginaw. 11 bullet shell casings that were the same caliber. I think it's clear here that the assault, the defendant had the ability to cause an injury. Again, we've talked about a gun can be inherently dangerous. And both Dante and Lynette were lucky that they were not struck by any of one of those 11 bullets. Again, we also talked about that one of the elements would be the defendant intended to kill the person that he assaulted. As we spoke about, again, before, it's kind of obvious when you look at someone's actions to determine their intent. What did the defendant intend to do when he shot approximately 11 rounds into that vehicle from pretty close distance? I think it speaks for itself. The last thing I wanted to address is specifically there's another charge, I believe it's count 3, that talks about a felon being in possession of a firearm for a specified felony. There's 2 elements to that, and the first element is that the defendant possessed the gun. The second element is that the defendant had previously been convicted of a specified felony. That second element is being stipulated to, meaning that the defense is stipulating to that element and that the defendant was unable to possess a gun because of his prior conviction on August 2nd of 2019. So the only element that you need to consider in terms of possessing a felon possessing a firearm is that first element of whether he actually possessed that firearm. Again, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, as I stated at the beginning of this trial, this is a common sense case where I believe the motive will be shown about the issues that the defendant had with people, specifically Dante Harrison contacting Alexis Rios. It's a common sense case that Lynette had known Omar for 18 years at that point in time. And at each progression of this case, she states it was Omar, it was Omar, it was Omar over the course of the last year and a half. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, when you go back to deliberate, I ask and implore you to use your common sense and come back guilty as charged on all 6 felony counts pending against the defendant. Thank you.
Ms. Dye, do you wish to give opening statement at this time?
I do, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Good afternoon. Once again, my name is Lauren Dye, and I'm here very short representing Mr. Omar Morrow in this case. The prosecutor has to prove several things beyond a reasonable doubt, and he went through the vast majority of that with you. So simply put, he has to prove that a shooting took place here, who was shot at, and who did it. There are 2 things not in dispute out of those 3. That a shooting took place and who was shot at. We don't deny that. What we do very much dispute is who did it. The prosecutor has to provide you with evidence to support his claims of who did it. I'm going to ask you to pay careful attention both to the evidence that's presented and the evidence that isn't presented here. Because circumstances are important when it comes to identification. As he indicated, he has 2 complaining witnesses, Lynette Lumsden, Dante Harris. Dante Harris isn't going to be able to identify the shooter. He's not going to be able to offer anything there. Lynette Lumsden is going to offer a misidentification. And I'm going to ask you to pay attention to the evidence presented regarding the circumstances surrounding that identification. That's going to be important. He also mentioned that Lynette Lumsden was interviewed several times by the responding police officer, by Detective Inman, and by Detective Inman again. 2 out of those 3 times, he said that she claimed she was alone. Let's call that what it is. It's a lie. She lied 2 out of 3 times. She did not contact him to say, oh, I feel bad. I should come clean. Oh, I told you a story, and I'm going to correct that. Detective Inman had to go to her and say, what about this? And that is when the truth came out. That is the real truth behind her claims. They are lies, and that is the right word for that. Two things the prosecutor left out is that in addition to Lynette Lumsden's initial 911 call, there were 2 more calls made by her to 911. Her first one came in at 12:42, initially saying, I was shot at. Her second one came in at 12:59 a.m. She claimed she saw Omar driving around in his Impala with tinted windows. That is what the evidence will show. She was very specific about that. She knows what kind of car he drives. That's the one. And at 1:27, she made another 911 call. Oh, I see Omar driving around again in his Impala with tinted windows. She was very specific about that. And as the prosecutor pointed out, at 1:16, in between 12:59 and 1:27, Omar is seen on video at Econo King with Alexis Rios. I challenge you to pay attention to the timeline. This is absolutely going to come down to common sense. Don't check it at the door. Does that make sense? One thing you're going to learn from the video that I intend to present to you is that Omar was not wearing all black in the video. So if he went off and did this shooting wearing all black with a wife beater, that apparently a very detailed amount of testimony is going to come out about that. It was hanging out the bottom of his sweatshirt, apparently. She saw it. So there's no disputing that. But that's not what he was wearing at 1:16 when he walked to Econo King with Alexis. Now, I don't have to present any evidence to you. We went over this already. I don't have to do anything in this case. I don't have to cross-examine. I don't have to present a witness. I don't have to present testimony. I can simply rely on the veracity of the government's case. I could simply rely on how paltry it is with respect to my client, because it is. And really, that should be enough here. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to present to you a witness by the name of Alexis Rios. Yes, Alexis was in a semi-formal relationship, mostly casual, with Omar Morrow. She is going to come in and she is going to tell you where Omar was and where he wasn't. And where he wasn't was doing the shooting that he's accused of. Omar was with Alexis all night. She's going to testify that she was dropped off between 11 p.m. and midnight to his house. She's going to testify that she was there the whole time. She's going to testify that a carload of people stopped by to talk to Omar, that he went outside to talk to them, that he never left, that he came back inside. Then they decided at one point to go to Econo King because they wanted to get something to drink. That is what they did, on foot. She's going to testify that they both immediately returned to the apartment, that they proceeded to drink and fell asleep in the early morning hours of August 2nd. And at no point did Omar leave in his vehicle or leave her sight longer than time to go down to talk to that carload of people. I want you to pay attention to people who weren't talked to, people who could have verified Alexis's claims. There are people. I challenge you to pay attention to whether or not time was taken to complete those interviews. One thing that you're going to learn is that Alexis has told her story as well from the beginning, and that it has not changed. She has told it to anyone who has asked and anybody who will listen. Now, that makes it sound awfully forceful, like she has a great deal of interest. But what Alexis is also going to tell you is that she doesn't owe Omar a thing. They have barely spoken in the last year and a half. They are not even friends at this point. She doesn't owe him anything. But right is right. And it is her position that somebody here needs to tell the accurate truth. And that is what this case is going to boil down to. Who is accurate and who isn't? Who provides you with enough to decide that they are probably more right than the other? That's what this case is going to boil down to. We're going to ask you to decide that. So at the conclusion of the case, I'm going to ask you to consider the evidence presented. I'm going to ask you to consider the evidence that wasn't presented. And I'm going to ask you to return a verdict of not guilty, because it is our position that the government cannot prove who did this beyond a reasonable doubt. Thank you.
Mr. Sauter, you may call your first witness.
Thank you, Judge. Can I go check to make sure that they're here?
And who is your first witness you intend to call?
Dante Harrison, Your Honor.
Okay, for the testimony of Mr. Harrison and Ms. Lumsden, we need to have them wear the face shield and a lapel mic, so I should have had that arranged beforehand, but you can see if your witnesses are here.
Yes, Judge, thank you.
Mr. Harrison, come forward and be sworn, please. Well, stand and let my clerk swear you in first. You can take the witness stand. Also, there's a lapel mic here. You don't have to pick up the whole mic, but there's a clip. You put that up under your shield so when you talk, the jury can hear you. Clip it onto your shirt. Okay, can you say your name, please?
Dante Harrison.
Okay, now you just got to speak up a little louder, too.
Dante Harrison.
All right, and how do you spell your first and last name?
DONTAEHARRISON.
Okay, pull the lapel up a little, the mic up a little closer, can you? Okay, let's see how that goes. Your witness, Mr. Sauter?
Thank you, Judge. And Mr. Harrison, do you have some apprehension about being here today?
Yeah,
How come?
because I just don't want to be a part of it.
But you understand that you are here and that you were a victim in a crime that was committed about a year and a half ago, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So all I can ask you at this time, Mr. Harrison, is just give me a truthful answer to my questions. As soon as I'm done, Ms. Dye can ask you some questions and then you can be on your way. But I do appreciate you being here. Dante, I want to bring your attention back to the early morning hours of August 2nd of 2019. Do you remember that date?
Yes, I do.
And where were you and who were you with at that time?
I was in the driveway at Lynette house.
Okay. And-
Hold on. Pull it up a little closer and you gotta just be real clear. Put it up higher on your collar. Okay. Say your answer again, sir.
And where were you at and who were you with on that early morning?
I was with Lynette in the driveway of the house.
And were you inside a vehicle at that time?
Yes, I was.
And what vehicle was that?
It's, 2005 Buick.
Was that registered to you?
Yes, it was.
Was Miss Lumsden actually operating that vehicle more frequently than you were at that time?
Both of them.
Thank you. And did you have any tinted windows on the vehicle at that time?
Tinted windows?
Yeah,
No.
no tinted windows, thank you. And do you recall at roughly what time in the morning you would have been at her residence in the driveway of that vehicle, inside that vehicle?
About 2 o'clock, somewhere around there.
Okay, so in the early morning hours?
Yes.
All right. Now, at some point in time, did Lynette exit the vehicle and go inside the residence?
She was attempting to exit going at residence.
Okay. And I guess, did she actually go inside the residence?
She didn't make it inside.
Okay. Did you have some words with her at that point in time?
We was having a disagreement. I told her to get back in the car.
And eventually, does she get back inside of that vehicle?
Yes, she did.
Where inside the vehicle did she get back in?
Passenger side.
Okay, front seat.
Yes.
And at that point in time, were you guys headed to go somewhere after she got back into the vehicle?
We was about to leave.
And where were you going to go, if you can recall?
I don't know. We just out. We just out riding around.
Okay. And after Lynette had gotten in the vehicle, did you turn the music up, or was the music already loud at that point?
I was already up.
Okay. And did you have to reverse the vehicle out of the driveway at Lynette's house?
Yes, I did.
What street is that driveway on?
So, Williams.
Okay. And does Miss Lumsden live on the corner of South Mason and Williams in the city of Saginaw?
Yes, she do.
Okay. And at that point in time, did you eventually stop reversing the vehicle and start to pull forward towards South Mason?
What you mean?
So you're reversing the vehicle out of the driveway.
Right.
What happened after you stopped reversing that vehicle?
After my car got shut up.
Okay. And at that point, as your car was getting shot up, were you proceeding forward?
I was backing out. Actually, I was trying to back out.
Okay. Eventually, did you put the vehicle in drive, though, and start to drive forward?
Yes, I did.
And what street were you driving towards at that point?
Towards Mason.
Now, at the beginning, you said your vehicle was shot up. Did you know from the beginning that you were actually being shot at that point in time?
No, I didn't.
When did you know, and when was it real that you were being shot at?
Driver's side of the window shattered.
Okay. And when the driver's side window was shattered, what were you attempting to do at that time?
Leave.
Okay. And at some point in time, did you tell Miss Lumsden to look to see who was shooting at you?
Yes, I did.
And did she state who was shooting at that time?
Yes, she did.
And what did she say?
Said with Omar.
Okay. And do you know an Omar?
Yeah, I know.
And what's his last name?
Tomorrow,
And how long have you known Omar Morrow for?
over 20 years.
Fair to say that you're cousins with him?
Basically, yes, sir.
And if you were to see Mr. Morrow again, would you recognize him?
Yeah.
Is he in this room today?
Yeah.
Please point to where he's seated and describe what he's wearing.
He over there with a suit and tie on.
The record reflect identification of the defendant, Your Honor.
Is he seated at the table with the defense counsel?
Pardon me?
Is he seated at the table with the defense counsel?
Yes, sir.
Record will reflect the identification of the defendant.
Thank you. And Mr. Harrison, were you ever able to see specifically who was shooting at you?
No, I wasn't.
If you can recall about how many shots were fired or that you can remember,
8, 9, somewhere like that.
and were they in quick succession of one another?
The first few was, it was back to back.
And if you can recall, were you still being, strike that, Did you then turn down the one-way of South Mason? Did you take a right onto that street?
Yes, I did.
And did you pull out so violently that you almost hit or did
Your
hit the?
Honor, I'm going to object to this question as leading. I think you can ask him how he pulled out. I don't think you can imply.
Rephrase your questions, Mr. Sauer.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Harrison, were you concerned for your safety and well-being at that point?
Yes, I was.
And were you trying to get away from the scene at that time?
Yes, I was.
Can you describe how you pulled out onto South Mason?
Back at the driveway, got to the stop sign and tried to take off.
Okay. Were you trying to get to safety at that point?
Yes, I was.
Now, eventually, where did you go after the shooting took place?
I went on my homeboy house on Webster.
Okay, is that North Webster here in the city of Saginaw?
Yes,
And were you dropped off at a location there?
yes, I did.
Did you end up staying at a friend's house on that street for a period of time in that morning?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And did you ever make contact with the police on the morning of August 2nd?
Oh, I did.
And how come?
Because me and Lynette weren't supposed to be together. We had a no contact order.
So you didn't want to get in trouble
I
by,
didn't get in trouble for being around her.
okay. And eventually, Detective Inman seated over here, did he contact you for an interview?
Like a week later, he did.
Okay, and did you actually then go in and sit down, and have an interview with the detective?
Yes, I did.
Now, at that point in time, were you having some beef with Omar Morrow?
I wouldn't say so much. I didn't have no beef with him, but
Did-
we had words. We exchanged words. So
What were those words about?
I was on Facebook. His girlfriend Lexi was talking with her.
And Alexis, what's her last name?
I think Rios.
Did you have contact, whether it was text message, voice calls, or Facebook messages with Alexis Rios, I guess leading up to August 2nd of 2019?
Yes, I did.
And do you know if Omar was upset with you for having that contact?
Objection, Your Honor. I don't think that he can tell us what the defendant was thinking.
Well, if they had some words with one another, he can describe what he thought those words conveyed. Overrule the objection. Proceed.
Thank you. And do you know, Mr. Harrison, if Omar was getting upset with you while you were contacting Alexis Rios? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And eventually, did the defendant, Omar Morrow, send you some threatening text messages about six or so days before the shooting on August 2nd?
I can't remember what he said, man. He was calling me. We was going back and forth. We both was going back and forth over the phone. So
Okay. So was it phone calls? Was it text messages? Was it Facebook, or a combination of all those?
all of them put together.
Okay. And what were you guys arguing about?
Like I said, I really don't even know what his problem was with me. So
Okay.
basically, I guess because he didn't like me liking Lexus Facebook posts.
Thank you. And a couple days after you had some back and forth with Mr. Morrow, did you see him at a Rally's restaurant here in the city of Saginaw?
Yes, I did.
Did you exchange some words with him at that time?
I just called his phone and told him to quit calling my phone. I see where he at.
Okay. And why did you tell him to do that?
He kept calling my phone.
Okay. Was he threatening you when he called your phone?
He was saying all types of, I can't remember, it's been 2 years ago. He was saying all types of stuff. We was going back at each other, telling each other back stuff.
Now, at that point in time, Mr. Harrison, did you have any issues or beef with anyone else?
I don't have a problem with people.
Thank you. Just a moment, Your Honor. I have no more further questions at this time, Your Honor.
All right. Cross-examination, Ms. Dye.
Mr. Harrison, I'm sorry. Mr. Harrison, you indicated that you could not identify the shooter. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. You also indicated that once your driver's side was shot out, or your driver's side window was shot out, you were attempting to drive away from the scene.
Yes.
Would you describe yourself as driving fast away from the scene?
Pardon me?
Would you describe it as driving fast away from the scene?
I was trying to leave the scene.
Okay. As fast as you possibly could?
I was just leaving the scene. That's what I was doing.
All right. And you had to make a turn in order to get away from there, correct? From Williams onto Mason?
Yes, I did.
Did you turn toward the shooter or away from the shooter?
Which means I turned towards the shooter. I turned on Williams.
Turned away from the shooter. Thank you. You're not related by blood to Mr. Morrow, are you?
No, my first cousin married to his first cousin.
Okay. And you also indicated that you were not supposed to have any contact with Lynette, and that was by order of a court, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Anything else? Whoa. Hold on. Any other questions, Mr. Sauter?
Just a couple more questions, Mr. Harrison. I appreciate your time. Now, you had stated that you couldn't see the shooter, but could you see where that individual was in relationship to your vehicle?
Could I see what?
Where that individual was in relation to your car?
It had to be in front of the tree.
Okay, and what side of the vehicle was that on in relation to where you were seated?
Left side.
Okay, so was that on the driver's side then?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the shooter was off the driver's side of your vehicle?
Yes.
No more further questions, Judge.
Anything else, Ms. Dye?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
And now you may step down. And Mr. Sauter, who is your next witness?
Judge, at this time, the people would call Lynette Lunsdom to the stand.
Okay. Mr. Sauter, there should be some disinfectant wipes there for the microphone. You just have to clean the lapel mic. That's the one she's going to be using. Ms. Lumsden, you could come forward and stand here, be sworn by my clerk, please. You can take the witness stand here. There's also a lapel mic in front of you. You can pick that up and place it on your collar. See the clip? Place it high up on your collar so we'll be able to hear you, okay? Okay, state your name for the record, please.
Lynette Lumsden.
Excellent. Your witness, Mr. Sauter.
Thank you, Judge. I apologize if you just did this, Lynette. But if you could state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
It's Lynette Lumsden, Lumsden.
Thank you. Lynette, I want to take you back to August 2nd of 2019. On that date, where were you living at that time?
I was living at 802 South Mason Street.
Okay, is that here in the city of Saginaw?
It is.
Also, at that time, did you have an on and off again relationship with Adante Harrison?
We did.
Okay. And in the early morning hours of August 2nd, 2019, where were you at and who were you with at that time?
I was in my driveway at home, and I was with Dante Harrison.
Okay. And can you recall roughly what time you would have been in your driveway at your house on that morning?
It had been roughly between like 12:30 a.m. and 1 a.m.
Okay.
between that time.
And I guess prior to getting home or going home on that morning, were you out with Mr. Harrison prior to that?
Yes, we were.
And where were you guys at?
We were just riding around, figuring out something to do for the night because it was a weekend, and I went home to use the bathroom because I don't really like to use public restrooms, so I went home to use the restroom. That's why I went home.
Okay. And at the time you went home, when you were traveling there, where were you seated? Were you riding around in a vehicle? I apologize.
Yes, we were, and
Okay.
I was the passenger.
Front passenger?
Yes,
And what vehicle was that in?
it was a Buick, I can't remember the exact name, but it was like a light blue Buick.
Okay. Does the Sabre ring a
gray.
bell?
Yes,
Okay. And at that time, who was that car registered to?
Dante Harrison.
Would you use that car though?
Yeah,
Okay. And who was driving at that time?
Dante Harrison.
And when you arrived home, did you ever go inside of the house?
I did use the restroom.
How long were you inside the house for?
Approximately like 3 minutes,
Okay, so rather quick.
rather quick.
And when you came out of side of the house, did you immediately get in the vehicle?
No,
Did you exchange some words with Mr. Harrison?
yeah, we were arguing a little bit, and then he just was like, "Get in the car."
And did you then get in the car?
I did.
Again, what seat?
Passenger,
Front-
front passenger.
Front passenger. And at that time, was the music in the vehicle loud?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And at some point in time, how was the vehicle parked or in your driveway? Was it hood first closest to the house or the trunk?
The hood first, closest to the house.
So at some point, did Mr. Harrison start to reverse out of the driveway?
Yes,
Okay. And where you live on South Mason on that address, what street is your driveway on?
my driver's on William Street.
Is your house located at the intersection of South Mason and William Street?
Yes, on the corner.
And at some point in time, did the car stop reversing and go into drive or proceed forward?
Yes,
Okay, and where was the car headed to at that time?
we were proceeding to the stop sign on the corner of Mason and Williams.
And did there come a point in time when you notice, I guess what sounded like gunfire?
Yes,
Can you explain that, please?
I just heard gunfire, and then I turned the music down, and I was like, "Dante, they're shooting." And I was like, "Oh shit, they're shooting at us." Because I seen sparks coming from the car, and I heard like it hitting the metal. Then it busted out the window. This window got shot out.
Was your adrenaline going at that point?
Crazy.
And did you realize at the beginning that you or your vehicle was being shot at?
I heard it first and then I realized it when I seen it.
And what made it real? How did you know for sure that your vehicle was being shot at?
Because I seen the sparks coming from the car.
And eventually, was there damage to the front driver's window?
Yes,
What happened to that?
it got shot out.
Okay. And prior to the front driver's side window being shot out, did you notice or could you see anyone shooting at the vehicle?
Yeah, I seen someone running alongside the video. I mean, the car with us.
And what side of the vehicle was that individual on?
Though it would have been the right side. I mean, the left side. I'm sorry.
Okay, is that the driver's side?
Yes.
Okay. And I guess at a point in time, as the firing was happening, did Dante ever tell you to look and see who was shooting?
Yes, he did.
And were you able to look and see who was shooting?
Yes.
At that point, when you looked, where did you look out of the vehicle?
I looked out of the shattered window.
Okay, so was there any window left at that point?
None.
Okay. And prior to the window being shattered, was there any tinted windows on that vehicle?
None.
Okay. And what did you observe when you looked out of that shattered window?
I observed Omar like this.
Okay. And just for the record, you're holding out your hand. Was anything in his hand at that time?
I mean, I'm more focused on him at the time.
Okay. And where, I guess, was he when you saw him holding out his arm like that?
We were like by the stop sign, and so he's like more by my house than me.
Uh-huh.
So I guess between the streets, like so on Mason, on South Mason.
And on that evening, do you have a front porch light on your house?
I keep a front porch light on in my house.
Okay.
Yes,
and
that
do you-
evening as well.
Okay. And on that evening, is there a street light that's near where your vehicle was on the intersection of South Mason and Williams?
Yes, it's right above the intersection.
And when you saw Mr. Morrow out the driver's side window or the shattered window at that point, was he underneath or in any lighting at that time?
Yes, he would have been right underneath the street light.
Okay. And prior to August 2nd of 2019, how long did you know Omar Morrow for?
I've known Omar like 20 years.
Okay. Have you had a lot of, I guess, interactions and I guess times that you might have hung out or seen him over those 20 years?
Oh, plenty of times.
And do you know if he had any relation to Dante Harrison?
I believe they have like mutual cousins or something like that.
Okay. And how far was Mr. Morrow when you could see him underneath that streetlight? Was he closer than I am right now to you, or this distance further?
About approximately the same.
Okay. And if you were to see Omar again, would you recognize him?
Yes.
Is he in this room today?
Yes, he is.
Can you please point to where he's seated and what he's wearing for the record?
He's wearing I believe that's a black suit, got a tie on, white shirt.
Is it to my left,
Yes,
your right?
my right, your left.
Judge, at this point, may the record reflect identification of the defendant.
It shall reflect.
Did you ever lock eyes with Mr. Morrow at that time?
I looked him in his face. I don't know if he looked me in mine, but I looked him in his face.
And as you're telling Dante that it's Omar,
I
What-
said, my exact words, it was this Omar's bitch ass. That's what I said.
fair enough. Were you scared for your well-being at that point?
I was.
Okay. And where ultimately did Dante then drive away from the scene as you were being shot at?
Yes,
And what street or where would he have gone at that time?
we would have been, since we were at the stop sign, we would have been turning right onto South Mason.
Is that a one-way going to the right?
It is a one-way.
All right, thank you. And did you see or notice where the defendant was running or walking to at that time when you were turning on the South Mason?
He stayed straight on Williams.
Now, do you recall what the defendant was wearing?
He was wearing all black with a, and I also noticed like a wife beater because it was hanging, because it was like loose or wore out or something like that.
And it was hanging. Did he have a piece of clothing on over top of it?
Yes, a black hoodie.
Okay.
And so the record is clear and the jury understands in case they don't. What do you mean when you say wife beater?
A white beater is like a white tank top, like a Hanes Fruit of the Loom tank top for men.
Okay, thank you. Proceed.
What type of pants did he have on?
Black.
And do you recall the color of his shoes?
I would assume black because everything was so black.
Okay. Now, at that time, where did you guys go to after the shooting, you and Dante?
Well, we turned on to South Mason and we went on to North Webster
Okay. And why'd you go to North Webster at that time?
because I was having such a bad panic attack. Like I didn't know if I was gonna have to be rushed to the hospital just from my anxiety. So I was really trying to calm myself down.
Did you drop or eventually leave Dante on North Webster Street?
North Webster, yes, I did.
Excuse me, North Webster Street?
Yes.
Okay. And I guess why'd you drop him off or leave him there at that time?
Well, at the time we had a no contact order, so we wasn't supposed to be around each other.
Okay. And were you nervous that you could potentially get in trouble even though you were just shot at?
Yes, I was.
And did you call 911, I guess, after the shooting and after you had dropped off Mr. Harrison?
I did.
Okay. And roughly how long after the shooting did you call 911?
7 minutes to 10, maybe at the most.
And did you eventually meet with some officers from the City of Saginaw Police Department?
I did.
And where was that at?
At the Rite Aid on Gratiot.
Okay. And how long were you waiting there prior to the officers arriving?
Probably like 10 minutes, maybe.
Okay. And at that time, did you feel comfortable or safe going back to your house?
No, not until I didn't want to go there until the officers went with me.
Did you stay the night at your house that night?
No, I did not.
Where did you stay?
I stayed at the hotel
Okay. And was that, how come?
because I was scared to go home. I didn't know if he was going to come back to kill me.
Did you know where Omar was living at that time?
Yes, I did.
And where was that?
On Michigan, I would say, I think it's South Michigan, I believe.
Okay. How far from your house was the defendant's residence?
If you're driving, approximately 3 minutes.
Okay. So a rather short period.
We're very close.
And had the defendant ever been to your house prior to August 2nd of 2019?
Yeah, he's been to my house plenty of times.
Okay. Always at the 802 South Mason?
Yes. Well, he's been to previous addresses too, but my most recent address, yes.
Okay. Thank you. And Judge, if I may approach. Ms. Lumsden, I'm going to show you just a couple of photographs, mark people's proposed 17, 18, and 19. If you could go through these photographs and just describe what they represent, and if you could wait just so I come back to my mic, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
And Judge, if the Dow Event Center staff can give me some help, I'm just trying to figure out what HDMI the projection screen is on, but I can proceed in the meantime. Now, Lynette, can you see what was marked people 17 right there?
Yes, I see it.
What does that picture depict?
That's my side street of my house where my driveway is located on. It's
Okay, is it
William Street.
William Street. And kind of going further into the photo, as you're looking up, is that the intersection of South Mason and Williams?
It is.
Is that a daylight photo?
It is.
Nonetheless, is that a fair and accurate description of where the shooting took place?
Yes.
Okay. And if you can describe, and I'll come and show it here eventually, but, and I'll have you, I guess I'll just describe it at that point. If you could then flip to number 18, the one behind it. Again, what are we looking at in that photograph?
That's a closer picture of my driveway and my home.
Okay, from William Street?
Yes,
Okay. And then the next one, I believe, which is that 19?
yes, it's 19, and this
Okay.
is the front of my house
Okay, and is that
on South Mason.
from South Mason? All right, Lynette, are those pictures, I know are those all daylight pictures?
They all are.
Nonetheless, are those fair and accurate representations of those streets in your house?
Yes.
Okay. Judge, if I may approach?
You may.
Judge, at this time, the people would move to admit 17, 18, and 19.
Ms. Dye.
No objections, Your Honor.
Exhibit 17, 18, and 19 will be admitted.
Thank you, Judge.
I'm going to ask Mr. Sauter, can everyone from the back see the screen? And if you cannot, you will be able to take these exhibits into the jury room with you and deliberate. So, but if you can see it, that's fine. I see you nodding in the back that you can't see it. All right, you can proceed, Mr. Sauter. Apparently, if you keep talking, it'll kick on. Apparently not.
Ms. Lumsden, that's People's Exhibit number 17. And are we looking at William Street on there?
Yes, that's William Street.
Okay, I believe it says William Street.
Mhm.
I know it's a little bit darker on the projection at this point in time. Where's your house located on the screen in relation to this?
It's right there on the corner
Okay, is that white, is it the White House?
with
On-
the like a reddish, porch.
Okay, I'm just gonna walk over and point it out and tell me if that's correct.
Okay. Yes, that's my residence.
And it might be a little bit hard to see at this point. But where was the street light in relation to this photograph that you described the defendant running underneath when you viewed him?
It's right there, in front of that tree.
Okay. Is that tree on the corner of your home?
It is.
Okay. And again, is this fair and accurate?
It is.
Okay, thank you. Now, Ms. Lumsden, we're looking at number 19 at this point. Again, is that South Mason Street?
That is South Mason Street.
And is your house the White House on the right side of that photograph?
Yes, with the black shutter.
Is that where your front porch would be?
Yes,
Is that where you had the light on the front porch in the early morning of August 2nd?
yes.
Okay. And again, I guess this is just a different angle from the intersecting street of Williams, but where would that street light be on this photograph?
Actually, it would be right by where that guy's riding the bike or the girl. On the
Okay.
bike, on the bicycle.
So is it across the street from your house or on the same side of the street?
Across.
Okay. Thank you. Now, Lynette, did you eventually come clean to Detective Inman about not stating that Dante was with you?
I did.
And why did you wait, or let me ask you this, did you go to the detective first, or did you wait for him to ask you about that specific issue?
I actually don't remember if I went to him or he came to me about it. I can't remember.
Okay, but again, why did you wait?
Because I did not want us to get in trouble for being around each other, because like I said, we have personal contact order against each other. So
Okay.
I did not want him to get in trouble, and I did not want myself to get in trouble as well.
Did you have a final interview a couple weeks or a month or so after the shooting on September 4th with Detective Inman?
Yeah, we had an interview.
Okay. And prior to that interview, sorry, I just want to back up to August 15th. August 15th of 2019, did you have your first interview with the detective?
Yes,
Did you recover anything from the scene of any evidentiary value?
bullets.
Okay, and how many?
I recovered 3 myself.
Okay, and were they shell casings
They
or
were
bullets?
casings.
Okay, and where were those casings located when you
In
retrieved
my
them?
yard,
Okay,
like right there on the side, like on the Williams part of my yard.
okay. And would that have been the area that Omar was shooting you from when you noticed him?
Yes,
And did you turn those casings over to the detective here?
I did.
Okay. Now, fast forward to that September 4th interview. Did you finally come forward and tell the detective that Dante was with you that night?
I did.
Okay. Did any other portion of your memory or the events that unfolded in the early morning hours change?
No,
Okay. When you called 911, did you identify who shot at you on that morning?
I don't know. I was still having an anxiety attack, so I can't even really remember what I actually said to them, to be honest with you.
Okay, fair enough. Now, Miss Lumsden, do you know an Alexis Rios?
I do.
Okay. And how do you know her?
I just know her from around Saginaw. I don't like personally know her or anything, but we had a couple of dealings with each other.
Do you know if she had any type of relationship with Omar Morrow?
Yeah, I think that was supposed to be his girlfriend.
Okay. And I guess at that time, did you know if Dante had any beef with Omar?
Well, I know they were exchanging words quite a lot over the telephone. Then it also led to him playing on my phone, leaving voicemails and stuff. But I know I didn't really know exactly. I guess the beef was about Alexis, because he thought Alexis was fooling around with her,
Oh,
but it was
okay.
really his friend.
Thank you. Now, I know I'm kind of going back and forth. I do apologize. But on August 15th, when you originally met with Detective Inman, was your car in the shop at that time?
You talking about the car, my personal car, or the car that
The Buick
window-
LeSabre.
Oh yeah, because I was getting it fixed.
Okay. And what ultimately was fixed on the vehicle as a result of going to the repair shop?
Just windows.
Okay. Was anything on the exhaust fixed?
Yep, I did have to fix the exhaust. I did. It was a big hole in it.
Okay. And was that hole there prior to the shooting?
No,
Did you notice that hole after the shooting?
yeah, because the car was loud after the shooting.
And did you have a chance to look to see if there's any other bullet holes in your vehicle?
Yeah, there was about 3 or 4 in the vehicle, and then one, after the window shot out, one went through the radio, so the radio no longer worked.
Okay. Thank you. Just a moment, Your Honor. Now, Ms. Lumsden, when I set this up, again, this is going to be people's exhibit, actually 18 at this time. I would like you to come over to the screen and point out where you located those shell casings. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Sauter, it may be easier if she points on the photograph as opposed to walking to the screen because she'll be in the way of the screen itself. Just a suggestion.
Oh.
Sorry about that. If you could just
No,
point
I'm fine.
on that picture where it was located. Okay, and that's where all those were located right there?
Like right there in this area.
Okay, on the side of your house near your driveway?
Mhm.
Thank you. Just a moment, Judge. Lynette, just a couple more questions. I do apologize. Were you offered anything to come here and testify today?
No,
Were you given any type of plea deal or any consideration from my office to come here and testify today?
none,
Why are you here to testify today?
because I was scared for my life and I don't know if he's gonna come back and kill me.
And do you have any other reason to say that it was Omar Maru unless it was him who shot at you?
None whatsoever.
And how come?
Because I once considered Omar as a friend. I trusted him to come to my house on plenty of occasions. I never thought he would do that to me.
As you sit here today in your memory of August 2nd, 2019, are you 1,000% sure that it was Omar that shot at you and Dante inside that vehicle?
I'm 100,000% sure.
Thank you. I have no more further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Questions, Ms. Dye?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Lumsden, I'm sorry. Let's see. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
All right. Ms. Lumsden, that sounds like an enormously stressful event.
it was.
I would agree. So somebody, sometime after the time of midnight on August 2nd, shot at the car that you were in several times.
Yes.
All right. How many shots would you say they fired?
I know it was more than 9, I can say that.
And was it fast, bam, 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 or slow, bam, bam?
Well, the ones that I started hearing, I can't really say how fast they come out because I just started hearing them. But after that, it was bam, 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 bam.
Okay. How long would you say it took for the shots to, from the time that you heard them to the time they stopped?
A minute, maybe 2. Not very long.
Okay. A full minute then.
Maybe, I don't know. There's a lot going on to be trying to pay attention to time
Okay.
or counting seconds.
Would it be fair to say that quick succession shots in the amount of 9 might have been significantly less than a minute?
Might have been a couple more, might have been a couple, I don't know. I just know it was going on.
Okay. Probably your panic attack is contributing to your memory situation today, correct?
Not really.
Okay. But you were having a panic attack at the time?
Anxiety attack. yeah.
Anxiety. Okay, thank you. All right. And that anxiety attack lasted all the way up until your first phone call to 911, it sounds like.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, no, I calmed myself down really prior to calling.
Okay. So do you remember that call to 911?
Vaguely.
Vaguely. What causes your memory to be vague about it?
Because I don't remember what I said. I don't remember. Because it was too much going on. I can't remember my exact words. That was almost 2 years ago.
Okay. Now, when you're in the car at the scene and you're getting shot at, bang, 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 Dante does what?
He's telling me, look, look, look.
Okay. And what's he
But
doing?
he's driving. He's the driver.
Okay. And what's he doing with the vehicle?
Slowly approaching that because I guess he must didn't know which way to go either because we're
Okay.
getting shot at. So
Okay.
he just keeps telling me to look.
All right. Did he try to get you guys out of there?
Yes.
Did he try to get you out of there as fast as he possibly could?
I felt like it could have been a little faster myself.
All right.
If I was driving, I probably would have got out of there faster.
Okay. So you were driving down Williams?
I wasn't driving.
You were in the vehicle that was driving down Williams?
Yes,
All right. And you said the shooter was running alongside the vehicle on the driver's side, correct?
correct.
All right. And then you got to the stop sign at Williams and Mason? Okay.
Yes,
And you turned right there?
right on to Mason.
Okay, away from the shooter?
Yes.
All right. And just to confirm, he was wearing all black clothes except for that white tank top, correct?
Correct.
You mentioned that you felt that you almost had to go to the hospital because you were having such a serious anxiety attack.
Hmm.
Did you end up going to the hospital?
I did not.
So you were able to get it under control at some point?
Yeah, I usually can. I just have to use my inhaler and stuff like that.
Okay, but it was some point after the shooting stopped and you got away from the scene that you got that anxiety attack under control?
Yes.
How many officers did you tell your first story to, that you were driving the
There's
vehicle?
2 officers there that came and met me at Rite Aid on Gratiot.
2 officers, and you told them you were driving the vehicle.
Yes.
How many officers after those 2 did you tell that you were driving the vehicle?
Believe 2.
2 more?
No, I don't. No, they weren't even officers. I'm sorry. I'm gonna take that back. So I've only told 2 officers that.
And those were the 2 that you met with right after the shooting?
Yes.
What about Detective Inman?
Okay, what about him?
Didn't you tell him that you were driving the car?
Yeah, but he's a detective. I didn't consider him an officer.
Did you make any follow-up calls to 911?
I did.
Okay. And what did you tell them?
I seen Omar's car riding by me on Gratiot at the Rite Aid
How did you know it was Omar's car?
because he previously been to my house in that car.
What did it look like?
It's a black Impala, like the year 2007, 8-ish, black tinted windows, a spoiler on the back.
Okay. Do you recall approximately what time you saw his car driving around?
It had to have been after 1 o'clock.
Okay. How many times did you
1
see him?
a.m.,
Oh, I'm
that is.
sorry. How many times did you see him?
That was I seen him a couple times after that. One time while I was at, right out on Gratiot, and then another time when I rode by my house, he was riding up. It was either Jackson or Lyons
Okay.
Street.
And you made sure to call 911 both times, right?
I did.
One moment, Your Honor, please. I have no further questions at this time, Your Honor.
All right, anything else, Mr. Sauter?
Briefly, Judge, thank you. Now, Lynette, just to be clear, Ms. Dye was asking you some questions about seeing Omar's vehicle after the shooting took place. Did you actually see Omar in the vehicle, or did you?
I did not.
Okay. Did you just see what you believe to be Omar's vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. But could you tell who was driving at that time?
No, I couldn't.
And I see you again wearing glasses here today as you testify. Did you have glasses back on August 2nd of 2019?
Yes, I wear my glasses every day.
And were you wearing them that early morning of August 2nd?
Yes.
Okay. And at that point in time, I believe roughly 12:30 in the morning of August 2nd, were you intoxicated at all? Had you consumed any alcohol?
No, I was on my way to go to the bar though, but I
Oh.
haven't had anything as
Okay.
of yet.
Did you have any other intoxicants
None.
before that? Okay.
No.
And Ms. Lumsden, your anxiety attack or your anxiety that you were talking about, did that happen during the shooting or immediately following the shooting?
I really can't recollect like exactly when it started. I just knew I was having one because it just comes on like when something messed up's going on. I don't have them often, just when something's crazy going on.
Did your anxieties from that night and from the shooting cause you to have a bad memory or not remember anything as you testify here today?
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding the question.
Did your anxiety attack influence your memory of the shooting?
No.
Thank you. I have no more further questions, Judge.
Anything else, Ms. Dye?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
You may step down, Ms. Lumsden.
Okay. Want me to take this off too?
Yes,
Okay.
we want to keep that. You can sit right on the table.
And Judge, can we approach real quick?
You may. At this time to set up some more video equipment. So if you go to my law clerk, please. Mr. Souter, can you come disinfect the microphone as well? You may be seated. The record will reflect the jury is not present at this time. And Mr. Sauter, who is your next intended witness?
Judge, 911 Representative Dan Weaver.
Okay, and so you don't need the video monitor, you just use audio.
I just need to hook it up to the audio over there, Judge.
Okay, at any point during your presentation today or tomorrow, you're going to need the video monitor in front of the jury?
Yes, now that I say that, Judge, I'm not sure if it's worthwhile to have the track of the disc for the 911, at least on that screen. It's not a huge issue in terms of the timing. But that way they can maybe see what track, and I'll try to be clear with my presentation, what track we're on and where we're going to. But other than that, I did realize we had the TV, and I honestly forgot about it. But I'll make sure for tomorrow, when we're using a lot more exhibits, that we can put that in front of them.
Okay, so we'll set that up for tomorrow then.
Okay.
So you've got, who's your next witness? Someone from 911?
Correct, Judge.
And then who after that?
It's Officer Beatty, and given the issue that was presented earlier, I'm not sure if you want to start with his testimony and then conclude before anything doing with the body cam, and then maybe pick it up in the morning, or just wait for him to come in the morning.
And after Officer Beatty, how many other witnesses do you have?
Just two, Judge. I'll have Detective Inman and Detective Sergeant Randy Kahn.
Okay, and I've gone through Detective Khan's testimony before. Usually an hour or so. Is that what you anticipate with Detective Khan?
Judge, I don't really foresee it taking that long, but it will be, I would say, anywhere between 30 to 40 minutes, give or take.
Okay. So you've got the 911 rep, Officer Beatty, and that has to deal with the video camera that you're trying to get admitted?
Correct.
Okay, well, why don't you finish up your next witness? We will break for the afternoon and figure out what we're going to do with Officer Beatty overall. And then we'll talk about having him come in tomorrow with or without the video information you're talking about.
Thank you, Judge. And one last matter for housekeeping. The stipulated to exhibit number 1, which is the certified copy of conviction, can I move to admit that at this point, or do you want me to do it in front of the jury?
You can move to admit it at this point.
Okay. Judge, at this point in time, the people would move to admit number 1.
Ms. Dye.
No objection, Your Honor.
And what about exhibit 33 as well, Mr. Sauter?
We might as well. At this point, it's already been stipulated to, Judge, but I guess the people, along with defendant and defense counsel, would move to admit the stipulated to defense exhibit number 33, which is the Akano King video.
Ms. Dye.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Exhibit 33 will be admitted as well. Anything else?
No, Your Honor. Other than, where would you want me to, I guess, keep the certified in a folder or something.
You know, that's above my security clearance as far as where you keep it, Mr. Souter. We'll figure out where we want to keep that in all your exhibits, okay?
Thank you, Judge.
All right, we'll take a short break at this time.
I appreciate it.
Please be seated. Mr. Souter, you may call your next witness.
Judge, at this time, the people will call Dan Weaver to testify.
Mr. Weaver, come forward and be sworn by my clerk, please. You can take the witness stand up here. And also, Mr. Weaver, there's a lapel mic up under there. If you want to push that up under your shield and attach it to your collar so we can hear you. All right.
Good.
State your name, please.
Daniel Weaver.
Perfect. Your witness, Mr. Souter.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Weaver, state your full name and spell your last name for the record, please.
Daniel Weaver, Weaver.
And are you currently employed?
Yes, sir.
With who?
Saginaw County 911 Authority.
And what type of role?
I'm the interim director.
And how long have you been with the Saginaw County 911 for?
20 years,
And how long have you been in that role of interim director?
about 2 months.
Okay. In general, have you ever testified in court as a 911 representative?
Yes, sir.
And generally, I normally would ask questions like how 911 calls come in and then how Saginaw 911 knows how to compile related calls for an incident.
Yes, sir.
Can you describe that in general about how that's done? Say a couple people call about an incident. How do you know and how do you put those all together?
An individual will call 911 and it's, the address is verified through our computer-aided dispatch system in coordination with the GIS authority. It geolocates a call. So when somebody calls with a specific address, if a second person calls with an address that's at or near that location, it will come up with a flag that's indicating it's a possible match, and it's up to the dispatcher to review and say, yes, it's the same type of call within a very limited radius, and they'll make that determination and keep updating that call that's already made.
Now, the case you're subpoenaed for to testify here today, did you have a chance to go over the 911 calls related to an incident at 802 South Mason Street here in the city of Saginaw?
I did, sir.
And did you or your office provide a copy of those related 911 calls some time ago to Detective Inman?
We did, sir.
How are those compiled and in what type of format are they given to officers or detectives in the case?
They're compiled off of our recording system. It's an Equiture recording system. Every phone call, whether it's administrative or a 911 trunk that comes into the 911 center, is recorded automatically. No outside action is required by the dispatcher to have that recorded. Those recordings cannot be deleted or altered in any way. Those recordings are taken directly from the recorder and put onto a compact disc in a WAV file and presented to the investigating agency.
And again, did you have an opportunity to listen to that disc I just described?
I did, sir.
To the best of your knowledge, from what you heard, is it a fair and accurate representation about phone calls related to an incident at or near 802 South Mason Street?
It is, sir.
Okay. And Mr. Weaver, can you, if you can remember, do you recall how many tracks were on that disc?
I believe there was somewhere in the neighborhood of 10.
Okay. Judge, if I may approach.
You may.
I apologize, Mr. Weaver, but what's the number on the sticker?
The 23.
Okay. And Mr. Weaver, do you recognize people's proposed 23?
I do, sir.
And what is that?
It's the CD that was that I reviewed in the prosecutor's office. I initialed it with my initials under the MSP crest.
And best of your knowledge, is that a fair and accurate representation of those 911 calls?
It is, sir.
Judge, at this time, the people would move to admit people's proposed 23.
Ms. Dye,
Defense will stipulate to the admission.
Exhibit 23 will be admitted.
Thank you, Judge. If I may approach again.
You may.
And Judge, if I may publish that exhibit to the jury?
You mean play it for them?
Yes, play it, Judge.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you. And Mr. Weaver, on any one of these recordings or the recordings that are made for a case, what's track one always?
Track one is an automated response saying, identifying the CD, I apologize, the CD as a true and accurate copy of 911's master tape, master recording.
Thank you. And every track after track one, is there a timestamp as to when that call was received at the beginning of the recording?
Yes, and that's automatically applied by the recording system.
And again, at the end of every track, would there be a time that that call ended or the recording ended?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And I'm going to play that for you now then, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Weaver.
The following recordings are copies of Saginaw County 911 master recordings.
August 2, 2019, 25:47.
Saginaw County 911, where is your emergency? Hi, I live on 1551 Beach Street. I just heard like a round of gunshots go off. How many did you hear? Like about 5. Okay, were they rapid fire, like one after another, or they single shot? They were right after one another. Oh, did you see anything? No, I didn't see anything. I'm in my house, but my windows are open. Okay. And, how long ago? It was literally just now, like probably like a minute ago. Okay, I'll go ahead and let the police officers know, okay? It sounded like it was probably like maybe like a street or two away. A street or two away to in which direction? If you're facing your house, was it to the left, to the right? If they were facing my house, it would probably be on the street behind my house. Okay, all right, we'll go ahead and let the officers know. Okay, all right, thank you. All right, thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
August 2, 2019, 26:53. August 2, 2019, 25:54.
This is track 3, Mr. Weaver.
Saginaw County 911, where's your emergency? I am on South Oakley. What address? 718 South Oakley. Okay. I was just calling because I heard about 8 gunshots. Did you see anything? No, I'm sitting here in my house watching TV and I just heard it. Can I get your first name? Brittany. I'm going to let the officers know, okay? Okay, thank you. Yep, bye-bye. Bye.
August 2, 2019, 26:32. August 2, 2019, 25:55.
Hello, you've reached Saginaw County 911. All of our operators.
Saginaw 911, where is your emergency?
We just heard gunshots go off on their corners, 623 South Mason and Jackson.
How many did you hear?
What was it, like 3, Sheila?
What's that?
10?
10?
She said 10. I don't know.
Right on the corner of Mason and Line?
623 South Mason.
Okay. Did you see anything?
Jackson Street.
Did you hear anything?
We heard it. Oh, we could just hear the gun.
I'm sorry, did you see anything?
Oh, no, no.
Okay, and was it right at the intersection or where was it at?
Yeah, it sounded like it was right outside our window.
Okay, I'll let the officers know. If you guys see anything else, just call, okay?
I don't know, is there someone out there? Well, because we have a cameras and our things going off. Our things going off.
Okay. If you
Someone's
guys,
out there.
all right, if you guys see anything else, let me know, all right?
Okay.
All right, thanks.
August 2, 2019, 27:10.
Track 5.
August 2, 2019, 26:12.
Hello, you've reached Darnell County 911. All of our operators are busy right now. Please stay on the line and someone will assist you shortly. Thank you. Saginaw County 911, where's your emergency?
There's a man just was shooting over here.
Where are you at?
A man in black.
Where are you at? Where are you at?
At 1321 William Street.
Are
It's
you
right
okay?
in our area. No, I'm just. He just went walking down Bay Street.
The person shooting went walking down the street?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
listen, no, I need you to listen. I need you to focus. The guy, was he white, black, or
Okay.
Hispanic?
He was a black male wearing all black.
Which way is he walking?
He was walking towards, I live on William, in between Woodbridge and Mason.
Okay.
He's going towards Andre and Bates.
On what street?
On William Street, ma'am.
On Williams.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you still see him?
No, ma'am. She said stay in the house, Lisa.
No, I want you to stay in the house, but can you guys still see him?
Okay, but she said please stay.
I don't want you.
I know, baby, but she said please close. She said please close the door.
Are you guys able
Lord.
to see him? Yes or no?
No, ma'am, not anymore. I
Okay.
said he was walking towards
Was
Bates and
anybody in
Andre, ma'am. I don't know, ma'am.
Okay, that's
I don't know.
understandable. Listen,
I was sitting in my living room and I heard the
Did you
gunshot.
listen? Did
A
you
lot
see,
of them.
ma'am?
I didn't see anything.
Stop. Listen to me. Was it a handgun or a long gun?
I don't know.
Okay. Was it a rapid fire or was it like a single
Yes.
shot? Rapid fire? Okay.
Yes.
We already have officers on the way. They need this information so they can catch him. Was the guy tall or short?
Kind of tall. I don't know.
Was he heavy?
He didn't look like he didn't have no hair. He looked like he was
No hair.
bald-headed.
Okay. Facial hair black.
I couldn't really tell.
That's okay. I don't have to ask.
He wasn't wearing no glasses, but he was
No
wearing
glasses.
all black.
Okay. And was he heavy set or skinny build?
Medium built.
Medium build. Anything else about him that's going to stick out to an officer?
I
Take that hoodie off?
didn't see anything specific. I couldn't even barely even see what he looked like.
Okay. What is your name, honey?
My name is Tanya.
Tanya. Okay. We already got
Yes.
officers on the way. If anything changes, I want you to give us a call back, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Can they hurry,
Okay?
please?
They're already
Can
on.
they hurry, please?
Listen, they're already in the area checking, okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye.
August 2, 2019, 29:11.
Going to track 6.
August 2, 2019, 29:53.
Oh, please stop. Saginaw County 911, where's your emergency? Okay, never mind. I just called to report some gunshots. Yep. Did you see anything, ma'am? No, but a car pulled into our driveway. An unknown vehicle pulled into your driveway? What color, make, and model was it? What color car was it, Kayla? Like a dark blue. But they sat there for a minute, then they just left. So a dark blue sedan, truck, SUV, a van, like a four-door regular car. A four-door, so it wasn't an SUV, it was a dark blue four-door car? Yeah. Okay, and which direction did it leave?
At what, then it goes towards Woodbridge.
How long ago did it leave?
Across Woodbridge towards Bates about 2 minutes ago.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and let the officers know, okay?
Okay, thanks.
All right, bye-bye.
August 2, 2019, 31, 0.
Going to track 7.
August 2, 2019, 42, 13.
Saginaw County 911, where's your emergency?
Somebody just shot, I just pulled out my driveway and somebody started shooting me and shot my car up.
Okay, what address are you at?
I see who it was.
What address are you at?
I'm not at home, but I can meet you back there. I got scared. I left.
Okay, where did it happen at?
802 South Mason. And I see who it was.
Do you know them?
Yeah, I know this person. But I know him like I've been knowing him for years.
Okay, how long ago did this happen?
Like 10 minutes ago. He was like shooting at my head, so I took off. And I came to park because I had to calm down.
Is he black, white, or Hispanic?
He's black.
How old is he?
He's almost 40. He might be like 39.
What's his name?
Omar Marrow.
How do you spell the last name?
Marrow.
What was he wearing tonight?
Morrow. It's Morrow.
M-O?
Yeah.
Okay, what was he wearing tonight?
Oh my God. It was like a white beater or something. Oh, and he had a black. I think he was like he had a white beater on because I see it like at the bottom, but he had like black. I want to say a hoodie and a black pants, black shoes.
Which way did he go?
He went towards. So I live on Mason, so he went down Mason the other way.
On foot?
I mean Williams. I'm sorry, he was on Williams. Yes, he ran on foot. That's how I got a chance to see him.
Was he going towards the river or away from it? Like, was he going towards Michigan or away from Michigan?
He was going away from Michigan.
And Williams? And it was 10 minutes ago?
Yep, about 10 minutes ago.
What's your name?
My name's Lynette, Lynnette.
Your last name?
Lumsden, Lumsben.
And nobody was hit, correct?
No.
How many shots did he fire?
At least 6.
Okay. Where are you at right now?
I am, I'm on Webster Street right now.
Okay. Are you going back to your house?
Yeah, I wanted the police to be there because I didn't even see if he shot at my house or my other car or anything. I just know this one got shot up because my windows shot out.
Do you know where he lives?
Yes, I do. I can't tell you exact street, but it's off Michigan. But he got a black Impala with tinted windows, everything. Like he has a car registered in his name and everything.
You said it was on South Michigan?
Yeah, like by Econo King, like 2 blocks from Econo King. And he lives like in an apartment, like a big blue apartment house. And he lives in the like he be parking his car in the back.
You said it's a black Impala?
Yeah, with black tinted windows, probably like a 07 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, he got that Impala.
Was he in the Impala today or was he on foot?
He was on foot. I seen him running.
Did you see the Impala anywhere?
I didn't. I went the whole opposite direction because he was shooting at me.
Okay. We're going to get an officer over there, okay?
Okay, like how long? Because I'm like scared to pull up. I'm trying to get somebody to follow me over there because, I just don't want to get.
I apologize, Mr. Weaver. My computer went to standby mode, so I just rewound it about 10 seconds. I'm going to press play.
Impala anywhere?
I didn't. I went the whole opposite direction because he was shooting at me.
Okay. We're going to get an officer over there, okay?
Okay, like how long? Because I'm like scared to pull up. I'm trying to get somebody to follow me over there because I mean, I just don't want to get killed. Like that was like sort of unexpected, and I'm scared as fuck. That ain't never happened to me before.
No, I understand. Do you have, did it actually hit your vehicle?
Yes, yeah, my vehicle shot a couple times. My whole window's out and everything.
Which window?
My driver's side.
Okay. Nobody needs medical attention?
No,
Okay.
no, I'm just more scared than anything.
Okay.
Stop.
Can you, I don't want you going back
I
to
mean,
the
I
area.
can meet you there if you're gonna be there.
They're gonna go there, but I don't know how long they're gonna be though, so I don't want you to go there.
Okay, so how about you guys just call, cause like a 790 number usually calls me when, like they're on their way or something.
Okay, can you be reached at the 751-8135?
Yeah, I hope it don't die on you, but it should, I got like 10%. So I
Okay,
just won't use the phone until you call me back.
it's in there. Okay, yep, we'll give you a call when they're in the area, okay?
I appreciate it, thank
Yep,
you.
yep, bye.
August 2, 2019, 4721.
Going to track 8.
August 2, 2019, 4801.
Call it.
Where's your emergency?
I already called about the gunshots we heard
Okay.
at Mason and Jackson.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now there's a black and white pickup truck parked on Woodbridge and Jackson.
Hold on one second, okay? I'm just gonna pull up the call so I can update it. Looks like did you already speak to an officer?
No, no one, I haven't even seen a policeman
Got it.
car go by. But listen to me, that truck is parked on the stop sign and someone got out and they're walking down Woodbridge towards Mackinac. And the truck is sitting at the stop sign on Woodbridge and Jackson.
Okay.
Right now. Is there a cop in the area?
I know that they checked it.
Well, I never even seen a policeman go
And
by.
what kind of vehicle is it?
It's a black and white small pickup truck.
Okay, it's like an older style?
It's all dark colors, sorry.
And it's older style?
The older style? Yeah, it's not new.
Okay. And what did the guy look like?
We can't see. It's on the corner past our driveway. There's a truck parked at the stop sign,
Okay.
and someone got out and started walking down Woodbridge towards Mackinac.
Okay. You didn't see any weapons or anything on him, did you?
No, it's dark.
It's just, okay.
No, we can't see. We're watching it on our camera. We have over our driveway.
What is your first name?
I don't want to tell you that.
Okay,
I just want
that's fine. That's fine. You don't
want to see
listen.
a policeman in our area.
Okay.
So far, we've had the gunshots, a car in our driveway, now a truck at the end of our driveway. And still haven't seen a policeman.
Okay, all right. We just dispatch for the police, okay? We're not the ones that respond to it. We will go ahead and let them know to get in the area, okay?
Hey, I would appreciate it. They check out that truck sitting there.
Okay, yep, we'll let them know.
Okay, and they know what block it is?
Yes, ma'am. I said Woodbridge and Jackson.
Okay, so.
All right.
Oh, okay, fine.
August 2, 2019, 5024.
Going to track 9, and thank you for your patience,
August
Mr. Weaver.
2, 2019, 5916.
Where's your emergency?
I was told to talk to the Grafton Street, by the police on the 79 number, the right aid on Grafton, and then I sitting here waiting on them. I told them I'd be 5 minutes left, but I didn't see the dude that fucking shot at me, and I really be right by me.
Okay, so I'm just trying to find the call that you initially called in. What's your first?
Hello?
I'm still here. What's your first name?
Lynette, Lynette.
Okay, yep,
They told me to come up here and wait on them, but I'm sitting here waiting, and then in the meantime, while I'm sitting here waiting, because I've been here about 4 minutes, he just drove up Grasset.
Right, and they're checking the area, and then they're gonna come talk to you. They want you to wait at the Rite Aid.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here
Okay,
waiting on
they'll
them.
be there as soon as they can. They gotta check the area first, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, bye.
August 2, 2019, 1:21.
And finally, track 10.
August 2, 2019, 1:27:59.
Saginaw County 911, where's your emergency?
I'm sorry to keep bothering you guys, but the guy that just shot at me, I just left the police. He's I just seen him driving up Mason Street.
What, the guy that, who with the police?
I just left talking to the police, but the guy that just shot at me is going up Mason Street.
Okay, what's your address?
Oh, I'm not at home. I'm driving up the street, ma'am.
Okay, I'm obviously not familiar with what you're talking about, okay? So I need to know what exactly, what information was given to the police originally?
Oh, the 802 South Mason, my car just got shot up as I left my house.
Okay, so you
Well,
just
he's
saw
not on Mason anymore because I came up Mason.
okay, so he left which direction?
He left going up Mason on, like, you know, the way you go on Mason. It's only a long way. So, like, going towards court, I guess you could say.
Okay, how long ago, ma'am?
Just like a minute ago. That's because I just left from talking to police at the Rite Aid.
Okay, what color make and model vehicle was he in?
A black Impala with tinted windows. A black 07 like Impala, like a 07 style.
All right, we'll let the police know, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, bye-bye.
August 2, 2019, 1:29:28.
Mr. Weaver, thank you for your patience. The last question I have is starting with track 2. We heard a timestamp that was, I think, 25:47. What time of the day would that be?
I would have to listen, 25:47 is not a time.
Would it say 00:25:47?
Yeah, if it was 00:25, it'd be 25 minutes after midnight and 47 seconds.
Okay, that's why I just wanted to double check. I have no more further questions, Your Honor.
All right, questions, Ms. Dye?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Weaver.
Good afternoon.
Just a couple questions for you. Track 9, I believe it said 00:59, that would be midnight, or I'm sorry, 12:59 a.m., correct?
That is correct, ma'am.
And track 10, it said 1:27, that's 1:27 a.m., correct?
That is correct, ma'am.
Thank you. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Anything else, Mr. Sauter?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
You may step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are going to break for the evening. Caution you once again not to discuss the case among yourselves nor with anyone else, nor listen to, read, or watch any news reports should there be any concerning this trial. Have a pleasant evening. We'll see you back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. All right. Like to see counsel in chambers, please.